Welcome back, fellow collectors. This is Hisoka. Thank you all for coming back to the channel. I appreciate each and every one of you that comes by and checks out the video. Today is another new video series that I will be starting. CGC returns, not really that different from what I was already doing, except these are going to CGC and not PSA. Obviously the shutdown is there, but the price difference and the subgrades have kind of shifted things to CGC for some cards, and other cards will still be going to PSA. So this is a new series, and hopefully we'll be starting a few more new series down the line, so definitely stay tuned for that. So this one is a continuation of the Unseen Forces and Delta Species purchase that I uploaded. That was uploaded about a week ago. The purchase happened about 6 or 7 weeks ago because according to the CGC submission, they entered last month on 4/5 and they were shipped on 5/6. So between arrival and that, overall, it was probably about 5 weeks. And I purchased them about 6 weeks, 1 or 2 weeks prior to me shipping them out. So obviously it might look like they came back quickly, but that was just because I was recording a lot of videos during my last semester at school. And so I kind of didn't really have any time to check, and some of the audio quality and other things like that were not really that good. So I do apologize for some of it. Somebody said something about, it hurt my ears, or my ears are bleeding. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I'm trying to buy some equipment for recording, some lights, new audio, maybe cut out some of the muffles or things like that are on there. I'm still getting used to that, but I figure the biggest thing is just producing content. So that's why I recorded a lot of videos, and the timelines of things and the sale videos that are happening aren't always going to line up. So I'll try to give the dates as best as I can, but that's why this seems like this return came back very quickly. I'm not one of those big YouTubers that does a returns and pays for express shipping, $125 for CGC or $300 per card for PSA because they want to get content going. This is still purely financial things. That way I can, flip some of these cards back and either get the cards that I want for the collection or just sell them and, put that money towards buying more collections or the individual cards that I need. So kind of a long-winded introduction, but that's kind of what's going on here. And I, again, try to be as transparent as possible with things. So let's go ahead and get into the overview. So I have 24 cards that I sent express service level. So that cost $40 per card, and add the $7 for subgrades. Because again, remember CGC had changed it twice. And I also got the elite level membership, which had the 15% off on the membership tier. So I'm still grandfathered into that time period where I get 15% off, because after they did the changes, the only membership level was the elite level that gave a discount, and that discount I believe is 10%. Again, I could be wrong with some of these things, but when I first got my CGC elite membership, I got 15% off on that, because prior it used to be 5, 10, and 15%, and 15 was what I went for. I figured it'd be worth it over the course of a year testing it out. So it cost me about $37 a card to grade these all at express level. And that has since gone up from $40 to $60 a card, and from $7 to either $5 or $7 to $10. I don't know which. But 24 cards, and if we're just getting into it, it was a little disappointing, if I'll be honest. Out of 24 cards, I got 19 8.5s. I don't think any 8s. I got 1 7.5 and 2 or 3 9s. So this is Delta Species for the EXs. Really great card. Definitely, I think I need to get some lights in here to kind of make these pop a little better. There we go. Vaporeon. In photos, it doesn't quite come across like it does in person. It looks, to me, the gray of it looks just like the World Championship decks. So sometimes it doesn't come across as nice as I would like it to. So, and here at Jolteon 8.5. As far as my opinion on the subgrades, I'll say that I think that they were a little harsh. Either that, or I'm accustomed to PSA. And a lot of these cards, there's a few cards in here that I have that I had either sold or got in a PSA 8.5 or 9. And what I have to say is I'm having difficulty finding the scratches. That might be because of the design and the density of these things. These are a lot thicker than the PSA cases. If I can, let me grab a card here lying around. So if you look at the difference there, it's a 15-20% thicker on there. Thicker is always better if you know what I'm talking about. Talking about Snickers. Yeah, so lots of 8.5s have been coming in. But to me, the cards that have been coming in at 8.5s from PSA have a lot of scratches on it, even some of the 9s. But these CGC cards with their 8.5 surface is really, really just, they're really nice. And a lot of these cards are actually 0.5 subgrade away from a 9. So I'm still kind of trying to understand how they grade it, because when I look at some of these corners, you know, I'll have 8s and 8.5s. I'll look on the back and, you know, there's not really much whitening on any of these backs. There's a little like minuscule thing right there, minuscule one right there. There's no large, each corner has a white dot smaller than a pin dot. And these are dots that I've seen on PSA 10 cards from 2 cert to 5 cert. And it's on the edge. It's literally just like, I can't even describe. It doesn't even look like corner wear at this point. It looks like the normal edges with a very light dot. And it doesn't even look like corner damage. It's so minute. But are you basing it on the severity of it? Because I've seen ones that had a corner that was almost pushed down kind of and fraying. And it was pretty wide, like 5-6 times the size of these. But it's only on one corner. But these have 4 on it here. And so for that, that's the question is, are you basing it on the amount of corners that have it? And then from there, does it sort of add up to, okay, this is the total amount of widening, or is it worse if you get more, but it's very hard to see? Because if I looked at this from a glance, I'd really have a hard time really seeing corner wear, honestly. I mean, these are really nice copies. And the surface wear, I don't see the scratches that I was seeing in the PSA 8s. So maybe there was something that's more visible and reflects back with the LED and the sunlight that's harder to see in these cases compared to PSA, because they are thinner and they are not nearly as clear. So, you know, obviously it sounds weird to say it's clear, it's more clear on the CGC cases than the PSA, but that might make it more difficult to see the surface issues. Again, that could just be because of the density of the plastic and the type of plastic that they use and how it reflects the light. That could be one way. But if you see here, this is a surface of 8.5. I'm looking at it. There's print lines. But these scratches are so hard to see. They don't pop quite the same way. There's lots of little scratches, but they don't quite pop the same way. Whoops. They don't quite pop the same way that PSA ones did that I got in similar grade. So we'll see. Some of the cards are already selling, and my only PSA 9 here for Unseen Forces. Very light hollow, so pretty surprised. And this got a 9. Again, comparing to some of the 10s that I have, some of these 9s look really good. See right there, there's a lot of corner issues on this one. See if I can get it to focus. So yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, the amount of whitening that's on this one corner is more than those 4 individual corners, just the amount of whitening. So again, it had the same corners, but it's only one corner, and there's still the same amount of tiny white specks. So almost all of the other corners have that same tiny white speck that other one did, but this one has one large one. So my question is, how does that factor into it? Does that not reduce the eye appeal more? Or were the other ones just, because that one's so glaring, the other ones count less? But then again, if you have what you got for 8.5 on all the corners, and then you have one corner that's even worse than that, wouldn't that drop the grade down even further? So again, I honestly, overall, I kind of think it's about a 0.5 away from what I was expecting. I was expecting a few more 9s, maybe some 9.5s, but honestly, not terrible, honestly, compared to what I was hoping for and what I was looking for. So that's kind of that. And I've rambled on long enough, so let's get into the cards though and kind of show you here. So Espeon 8.5, the lowest grade of the bunch, and that mostly has to do with overall there's a lot of played edges around the whole thing. It's just frosty and worn down basically from play. Ho-Oh, a big card here. Already seeing offers of $750, $800 for this. So prices are holding pretty good on some of these bigger cards. Overall, I mean, for what I paid for these two sets in particular, $7,000, with the gold stars. I've already sold the gold stars, all but one. So between Delta Species and this, I've sold them. And Fat Swirl right there. And that alone, with a few other sales, has covered 60-70% of that $7,000. And I haven't even sold any of the big EXs yet. And that doesn't include the reverse holos and holos that I sent off to PSA, which I think will be a little bit more lenient and probably get a lot more 9s. Hoping a lot more 9s. I don't know anybody that wants to collect PSA 8.5 EX holos, but I'm sure there'll be a slight profit there. But this was a really good purchase for that. Some of the sets that I'm buying are not, they don't have nearly the big amount of cards that Unseen Forces and Delta Species has to make up for that cost. So again, those will just be cards that I'll keep raw for a lot of the EXs and the reverse holos and the base set. So that's kind of what I'll do. This is a big card right here. Celebi. This is one that I had in PSA in 8.5 as well. There were some very large scratches right here on the surface. I mean, it was terrible. I had lots of people ask for pictures of it, and they just didn't want to buy the card. And this card, solid 8.5 all the way across, looks a lot better than my 8.5. This is definitely a card that I would think would get a PSA 9 if I were to cross grade it. So again, kind of hard to tell, like, you know, that these cards look a lot better in comparison to the grades that I would get in PSA of the same cards or just similar series. And so that's why I really kind of am trying to understand that, because they look a lot better than what PSA is giving. So am I basing my expectations off of what I've got accustomed to with PSA compared to what maybe these should be giving? You know, it's like everybody values it differently, versus PSA does not really care much about the centering. They don't really care too much about the centering. There is issues. They're very particular with the corners and the hollow surface. Edges, I've seen edges get away with things every now and then, but centering and edges to them don't make that big of a deal. Versus some of the other cards, centering can get away with it on here. So that's kind of my feelings on how so far this submission went. The last thing I will cover is the big cards, if I can find them. Let's go over the gold stars. So 6 gold stars in total. By the time of this video, 5 of the 6 have already sold, and that's paid for more than one set at this point. So pretty happy with that. They look amazing in the cases. That's one thing I didn't mention. I'll do a separate video kind of reviewing CGC and comparing the cases and things like that. But with the EX series, especially with the EX cards, they look fantastic in these cases. The gold stars look really good too. Not quite as good as the silver bordered EX cards. But overall, for what I paid near mint, and these do get near mint plus on average, I got exactly what I paid for. Sometimes you hope for a big card and you get it. Other times, you know, I break even on the big EXs. The reverse holos and the holos at this point are free, which I've seen some of those sets sell on eBay for, you know, $1,000 or $2,000 for a master set without the EXs. So got a PSA 9 or C. I gotta stop that. I've been saying PSA 9 a lot whenever I talk about these cards. CGC 9. If only I edited my videos, I would edit that out. But yeah, this water Pokemon and EX look fantastic in CGC cases. And then these here, 8.5. This one got an 8.5, and this was the card I mentioned that had, if I can get it to shine. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to show here. Let's see if I can. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Yeah, I need to find a better way to show the condition, but there's print lines throughout here, and that is very visible versus the other scratches on the surface. The way they scan it with the computer or whatever machine they use, maybe that tells you that there's kind of indentations and roughness on the surface. And yeah, that's maybe why the other ones got docked down. But this one, clearly there's visible surface scratches. There we go. Kind of see it right about there. So yeah, and then Groudon. Fantastic card. I sold both of those to one person. And this one I sold slightly afterwards. Nice swirl right over the fin. Again, because it's a water Pokemon, it goes fantastic with the blue label that's on there. And you also get this, something that you're not going to see on PSA where they have the star on there. It's going to say gold star, things like that. And it's actually kind of nice to have the star on there. The way that CGC does the labeling is actually really nice. So, I mean, the 9s that I got were very clean. So I'm curious to see what they look like on CGC 9.5s in comparison to, say, the 9s. What would be that big difference there that would drop it up or bump it up? So that is my first CGC returns. Overall, I paid about $1,000, and with the value that I'm going to get out of this, I estimated it at around $11,000, but it might be somewhere around $9,000 to $10,000. But even then, with that, I make a few $1,000s profit, and the rest of the cards from the Delta species, which, as most folks know, is very valuable. It's up there towards Team Rocket returns as far as reverse holos, but those holos are very popular, and the reverse holos as well. Unseen Forces is creeping up. The holos are definitely popular, and some of those cards like Typhlosion from Unseen Forces I've sold for $440 in a PSA 9, and some of those regular holos are selling for $150 to $200 in PSA 9 as well. So I would go to CGC, but I'd rather just take the chance of getting some of those in PSA 10 and get the PSA 9 and wait on that, because at this point, with these EX and Gold Star cards, I basically pay off the majority of the EX series. Like the next batch that came in, Team Magma versus Team Aqua and Emerald, those I don't believe that I will be able to pay off the $6,000 that I paid for those two sets with just those EX cards alone. But then when you take it in comparison with, it was a 4-set deal, paid in 2. With Unseen Forces, it kind of balances out where just the EXs, the Secret Rares, and Gold Stars will more than cover the cost of those 4 sets. At that point, those holo and reverse holo sets are completely free. I kept some and graded others. So overall, it's gonna be worth it. And that was my goal, is that whenever I get these cards, I send off the bigger cards or the other cards off first to try to recoup as much of my cost as I can. That way I can repurchase or reinvest that money into something else. And the other cards, they're there. I can sell them if I need it, or I can just grade it, and later on when they come back, that's just profit at that point. And it's kind of just putting, another cog in the wheel, or kind of, like a water wheel sort of. You're just filling it up and letting it work and kind of working for you in the side. So that was my plan with this. Overall, pretty happy with it. Would have liked a few more cards, but then again, I have most of these in PSA 10. So I'm very happy just to be able to have the opportunity to purchase these cards. And thank you all for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys on the next one. If you have any comments, leave them down below. Let me know what you guys think of the purchase and me using CGC as another tool to build up the collection. So again, thank you. Peace out.